तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Hello and greetings. In the ongoing saga of management of data, we have covered the aspects of high-level schema design using entity relationship modeling, and one